Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Queen of the Tearling by Erika Johansen. Kelsey Raleigh Glenn has been raised in exile by her foster parents since she was a baby. Kelsey is the rightful queen of the Tearling. On her 19th birthday, Kelsey sets off with the Queen's Guard, a group of brave men who are to escort her so she can reclaim her rightful throne. But Kelsey's kingdom is in despair. The ruler of a neighboring kingdom, a powerful sorceress known only as the Red Queen, has a tyrannical grip on the people of the Tearling. Kelsey must rely on her own courage and the courage of her Queen's Guard in order to save the people of the Tearling. First off, I won this book on the Goodreads first reads, so thank you very much, Goodreads. Prior to getting this book, I was already aware of the controversy surrounding this book. If you are not aware of that controversy, I will set it up for you right now. So the controversy surrounding this book is the fact that this book has already received movie rights, with Emma Watson set to star as Kelsey. And the thing is, though, the book got the movie rights before the book was even published. So a lot of people have rightfully complained about how does a book get a movie deal when it is an untested series. So yeah, a movie company is putting a lot of faith in an untested product. So I kind of went into this book wary and critical, knowing this knowledge. But I also went into this book because it genuinely sounded really fascinating and interesting to me personally, because it is a high fantasy book, and I enjoy that sort of thing. So I'm going to start off with the things that I enjoyed about this book. The first thing that surprised me about this book is the fact that it doesn't take place in a original fantasy world setting, something like Middle-earth or Westeros. It takes place pretty much in our world, a sort of alternative version of our world. It seems to kind of take place somewhere in like the far future where our world has just financially collapsed. The entire world order has just fallen apart. And so what has happened to the world is that the world has reverted back to a Middle Ages sort of setting. Just from gathering context, clues that are presented in this book, it takes place somewhere in England. But an England that is no longer known as England, but it's divided up into all these various different kingdoms. And so what you have in this book is that all of these scientific and technological advances are basically starting over from scratch. The second point that I really enjoyed about this book was the fantastic characters. I really enjoyed a lot of them. Kelsey herself was a great heroine. She's realistic, but she also has a lot of flaws. I actually really liked a lot of the supporting characters, especially all of the Queen's Guard men, people like Mace and Pin and Dyer. I also really liked the Fetch, who is a character who's very mysterious. He's an outlaw. He kind of just wanders around in the forest with his men. And also a really great set of antagonists and villains. The third point about this book that I really enjoyed was the fact that there was no ridiculous romance subplot. That's what I found so refreshing about this book. This book was all about Kelsey reclaiming her throne. It wasn't about her trying to find, like, a male significant other. Though Kelsey looking for love will most likely happen in books 2 and 3, I'm assuming. But still, I liked that it didn't happen in this first book whatsoever. Number 4, this is adult fantasy, meaning that there's some pretty rough material in this. Nothing is sugar-coated. There's rough language, there's dark and graphic situations, there's nudity, there's characters with shady moral values. So if you can't handle things like that, don't pick this book up. But also, even though this is adult fantasy, I don't think this book is so extremely adult fantasy like that. It's hard to get into, if that makes any sense. I'd actually probably recommend this book to someone who is trying to get into the fantasy genre and doesn't know where to start, because the language and the writing in this is very easy to follow, and it's not overly flowery or anything. And any concepts, like magic, for instance, anything that's supernatural in being, all of that is explained very well in this, and so you're bound to not get lost or confused in all of the technical details of this world. The fifth thing that I enjoyed about this book is the fact that it is extremely character-driven. There is action on occasion, quite a bit, but the action doesn't overpower the story, and the story is mostly all about Kelsey and the people surrounding her and all of these interconnected relationships. And also a book that's very political driven. So if you can sit through stuff like that with council meetings and people discussing important issues, then you should be okay. So I'm going to move on to some of the things that I didn't particularly like about this book. The first thing being that even though this book is extremely character-driven, sometimes that's a bit of a hindrance to the plot, because that makes the beginning bits of the plot, the first 50 to 100 pages or so, a bit hard to get into. You really gotta pay attention and go along for the ride. The early part of this book is about Kelsey in the Queen's Guard getting to the Tearling, and that's quite a lengthy journey. So that's where all of the massive character development comes in, and all of the development about the world in general. I said earlier also that this book has some really great antagonists and villains, but there was one villain that they didn't really do anything with, and that was the Red Queen, the sorceress who is kind of overpowering the Tearling. In the synopsis of this book, it makes a big deal out of the Red Queen, but the Red Queen is in only like a couple chapters of this entire book, and you don't really learn her, you don't totally understand her. I'm assuming that will be developed in books 2 and 3. My third and final issue of complaints was this whole notion of vanity. There were very vain characters and somewhat vain writing from Erika Johansen. Maybe it's just me, but while reading this, I noticed that Kelsey and other characters would constantly make mention of people's outer looks. Whether they be old and ugly or young and beautiful, there was always some sort of comment. Kelsey herself is often described as being plain and curvy, but then she in turn, her one character flaw, she tends to judge others a lot. Seriously, she's always looking at maybe a hot male character and she's going, oh, he's good looking. Or there's this one part where she's looking at this middle-aged woman who's not very attractive, but Kelsey's sitting there thinking, ugh, she's so gaudy looking with her headdress and her rings and jewelry, and she's ugly. Why is she trying to look beautiful when she's not? Seriously, she's always doing that to other women, degrading older women. But yeah, those are the things I liked and disliked about this novel. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this novel, and I really want to get into the next books in the series. Have you guys read this book? Are you planning to read it? Just let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you liked this book review, you may like these other book reviews. Bye guys.